What if the first thing you meet when you chase a dream is a monster? And what if that monster stirs up every fear you ever carried? This is the real story of what happened when I faced mine and picked up a paintbrush anyway. Well, hello, darling, and welcome to the Just Jax podcast. Hi, I'm Jax, and I help you find the can in your cat. When we challenge our cats, miracles happen, because when I challenged mine of I can't draw, I can't paint, and I can't color, imagine my surprise when I discovered what I can do is create a 21-foot garden mural that was recently featured not once but twice on the front page of our local newspaper. Next up, I challenge the I'm no author, no artist, and no cursive writing specialist, but what I can do is self-publish 3 books for my kick-ass cursive writing curriculum, Crack the Cursive Code. I'm a Jax of all trades, but what I master in is helping ordinary people like me to do extraordinary things through laughter, tears, life-changing stories, because metaphors are my jam. Together we can find the can in your can'ts, the do's in your don'ts, and the wills in your won'ts. I'm so excited for you. Let's go. Well, hello, my darlings, and welcome back to the Just Jax podcast. Or if you're new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. Last week, you heard Marny's story, a woman who faced a massive stroke and found her way back to a life she refused to lose. It was powerful, it was breathtaking, but it was big. And this week, the story looks similar on the surface, but no hospital rooms, no headlines, just a quiet wall on the far side of my property and a choice that seemed ordinary but shifted everything. Every time I ended up near that wall, the same feeling showed up, a heavy kind of sadness. I told myself the same story. I can't paint and I can't color and I can't draw anything that matters. Then one morning, something shifted inside me. I stopped seeing the wall as just an empty space, and I saw it for what it really was, a mirror that stirred up every fear I ever carried. The fear of failing, the fear of looking foolish, and the fear of trying and falling flat on my face. But I picked up the paintbrush anyway. Today, you will hear the story of those first strokes, those shaky mornings, and the monsters I faced. To help pull the story forward, I invited my dear friend Jen to join me. And to make it even more fun, I had ChatGPT help create the questions you will hear today. If you know a little bit about human design, you will understand why I'm a manifesting generator, someone who thrives by responding to what shows up. So instead of free talking this episode, Jen will be reading the questions so I can do what I do best, respond from the heart. This is The Cat Came Back, Part 1, From Fear to First Stroke.
Today's guest is someone who swore they couldn't paint, draw, or color, and yet they completed a 21-foot mural that made the front page of the newspaper twice. They started late, showed up early, and only had a short window each day to move forward. And just when the momentum started building, a key piece of their work disappeared, stolen. But what came next wasn't quitting. It was rebuilding with more intention, more heart, and more honesty than what came before. And here's what you won't see in those newspaper photos: the tears, the frustrations, and the hours spent painting tiny black borders with magnifying glasses, trying to draw straight lines on a wall that was anything but. The parts that felt impossible. What surprised them most, though? The people driving by, the honks, the cheers, the strangers who stopped by. What surprised them most, though? The people driving by, the honks, the cheers, the strangers who stopped to say they couldn't wait to see what came next. Because this mural wasn't just on the wall, it was a public street. And what started as a personal project slowly became something that was shared. Now that same wall is known as the Enchanted Wall, a trading post for local rock painting community, as well as a Pokemon Go stop. The story isn't just about art, it's about persistence, reinvention, and how the most personal work sometimes becomes the most public gift. Let's start at the beginning. So starting the project, what first made you say yes to this project?
Well, the first thing that had me say yes was that I had witnessed a piece of art on Facebook that my friend's mom had created. The artwork, there's a picture of a polar bear, and even though I know a polar bear is white, she made like a stained glass artwork around it and used all these really cool shapes and cool colors that were so bright and vibrant. And I thought, oh my God, that looks just like stained glass on paper. And then my mind went to, but if it's stained glass on paper, it looks like a coloring book. So it's a glorified coloring book. Oh my God, that is so cool. I could do that. And later on, in a couple of days or so, I walked by this we have a garden wall, and it was in two sections. It was 15 feet on one, separated by stairs, and 6 feet on the other. And it was sad as hell. And I'm like, I have to do something to brighten up this area. It was just so sad. So when I looked at that, I went, I could take that artwork by that woman and use a projector. Now I'm dating myself here. I'm going to use a projector that we used in school. And if it's a glorified coloring book, then it's a glorified paint by number because she already knows how to color because I fucking suck at coloring. She already knows how to color. She just has to make me the picture. And so I was very excited, but very nervous at the same time because I thought, well, I've never really hired anyone to work for me before. I've never hired an artist or anything like that. And I thought, well, okay, I will ask her to do that. And it was really interesting because it really stretched the can in her cat too, because the only artwork that she had ever done, she lived actually, unfortunately, she passed away, but she lived in Vancouver, British Columbia, and they did banner art competitions, and she won consecutively for many years. So she was used to doing that size, which is about 4 feet by a foot maybe, but my garden wall way stretched her. So when I asked her to do it, she asked me what my two favorite things were. And I told her, well, cats and flowers. And so then the artwork was born.
Wow. That is, quite a large space to to work. So most people would see something that big and immediately just feel, overwhelmed. What did you see that made you keep going?
I think sometimes the only way that you can get started on a big project by that is already see the done project and know you can do it at the end. And once I figured out that it was only this and this and this and this, and the black lines didn't need to be perfect and nothing like that, I thought I broke it down into compartmentalized chunks on the things that I could do. And I guess that's where the name of the entire artwork became the Can of My Can't, because, oh, getting emotional here. I am definitely and will never consider myself an artist. There is, wow, there is such expectation when you use the word artist. They're like, oh, well, you can do this and you can create this and you can create something out of nowhere. I'm like, no, 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 no. This is a big coloring book that I put up on a wall. And she had to, I wasn't expecting this. She had to color it for me because it was very difficult growing up as a little girl where you're expected to. What do boys do? They play with trucks. What do girls do? They color. And I never could. Or at least I was really judgmental on the pictures that I created, but it was a very big block for me. So, what made me realize that I could do the artwork, honestly, was that she would color it for me. That all I had to do was break down a legend, and that's what she did. She had like 40 different color Sharpies. She created a legend for me telling me what each color was and what the number was if I had to reproduce it. And that's how I broke it down. I figured if you would bring me a legend, then that was the biggest stumbling block, was figuring out how to color. The rest of the stuff was just transparency on a wall. And to me, that was simple. Did I know I was going to be getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and lying on my stomach till all morning? No, no, no. I'm glad I didn't know that part, because knowing that part after, I don't think I would have done it, because I had to. Okay, some background story. I think I was a vampire in a previous life, if there's such a thing, because I avoid the sun at all possible cost. So I'm an inside person, and I had to do this outside. And I avoid the sun, so I was never able to paint. This wall faces the west. I was never allowed to be outside past 11 o'clock in the morning because the sun came out and it peaked around the house and it made it too hot. I, I struggle with being in the sun. I have great admiration for it, and we have a long distance relationship. Is the way I like to put it. I'm like, no, thank you. You stay on your side of the world, and I'll stay inside. So, what made me decide that I was actually going to do it was the color factor, that she was going to take care of it. Because the rest of the stuff, I thought, well, transparency, that's nothing. And I already had been given a box of transparencies from my mother who collects random shit. So I already had the transparencies, which were going to be hard to find in the first place. And I had everything. So I found a projector on Facebook Marketplace, and that was the decision.
Okay. So it sounds like, during this time, you definitely faced some, um, it's safe to say you faced some, really big challenges and doubts. You said you didn't feel equipped, like it wasn't something you were trained for or even naturally good at. So what helped you keep going anyway? Was it momentum, stubbornness, or curiosity?
Uh, I think it was a lot to do that I had started a lot of projects in the past, and I rarely followed through on them. And this was a really great example of how to do that in front of the world. Like, I had people every day honk, stop by, do whatever. And in the beginning, my hubby wasn't too on board with doing the mural because it was a left brain whack doodle idea. And where did it come from? And am I an artist? Have I ever showed him any artistic interest? No. Nothing. Did I show him any painting? No. Did I show him anything that would give him any indication that I could pull something like this off? No. But I decided that it was something that it came from inside me. Like I had a birth. It had to come out. And so I realized that this was becoming more than just mine, that people were actually looking forward to it, and it became our project. In fact, I was so surprised that people even gave a shit, because this was just something that I wanted to clean up that wall, because that area in my property had a very dark energy to it. It was just, there was a lot of crime in that area just because of certain things that were happening, natural things, trees and such. And I just wanted the whole area to become lighter and brighter and more welcoming. As I was telling you, Jen, earlier, I had 10 tall, like 10-foot arborvitaes that were there on that corner of the property that were just right above where the mural is right now. And I really wanted that area of the property to lighten up. And you know what? The trees did me a favor, and they slowly started dying one by one on their own for no reason. And I just thanked them from the service, cut them down, and the mural and that corner just lit right up. But it became something that I started to become really excited about it when I saw the black and white on the wall. When I did that, it made me, I almost was tempted not to color it in because it looks so cool. Just being, I thought maybe I could cover it up and maybe get people to do chalk and color it themselves. I had this great idea that we should have something like that at the hospitals, that you have a giant mural like that that's just black and white, that people can take markers or they can take whatever. And when they're stuck there, they can at least do some coloring or something. But anyway, so first year when I had all the black and white up, it was very tempting for me just to leave it that way because it looked so cool. But the perspective was that I really wanted to see what it was finished, and each stage that went through was exciting. The filling the color part in was a little bit boring because it looked a little disjointed, but it just what each section, it brought its own little, I guess, spark of joy, I guess, would be the best way to explain that.
And I will say that, seeing your house and seeing it in person, um, you are on a very public street. You are in a neighborhood that, is on a very busy street. And, um, the attention that you got and the way that it's turned into such a central meeting place for rock painters and Pokemon Go stop and just anybody to come to for a centralized point, I think is something that's really big that's been missing out of communities for a while. And I think that's something that seeing it in person has been really eye opening. And it just gives you like the chills and the feels. And it's just a good feeling. Um, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's almost like it is meant to be there.
That's what it feels like. It's like the wall. That's the best way to explain. The wall spoke to me, and that's the thing. It was when I was talking about the can and my can't. When I was sitting there on the bed and I was just bawling my eyes out because I can't do yoga. I just can't. I just anyway. And then next word that comes into my mind is artistic, and I'm like, shut the fuck up. No, 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 no. And I'm like, no way. And it's like, and I sat there, and it was so funny because my mind goes, we'll resurface it, we'll revisit this later. I'm like, fuck off. No, you won't. Like, no, there's no artistic. No, no. And I thought, okay, and I let it go, and I didn't even think about it, didn't even think about it, didn't even think about it. And then all of a sudden I looked at the wall, and this is what you're doing here. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then all of a sudden it's like, well, you have, if the artist would do that, you get the projector, you get the little sample size exterior paint from Home Depot, and you go and pick out the colors, you get the legend, and so what's your excuse? Why not? Where's your not now? And I'm like, and that's kind of the toughest part is that, and that is basically what a lot of motivation for me comes is when I automatically remove all of my own excuses. And I'm like, okay, well, now why can't I? Because I don't want to? Okay, well, that's fair. But I don't know. There was just drive to just get it done. And it took 3 summers to do it. It wasn't like I got it done in one afternoon or I got it done even in one summer. When it was raining, I had to take plastic and wood and cover it all up so that the cement wouldn't get dry. Wouldn't get dry. That's just would stay dry. There's my lovely word Tourette's where I flip everything. Speak, Jax. Thank you. It would keep it dry, and people would come by. So when does the plastic come off? When do you start again? It was really interesting on how the public reacted to it.
Absolutely. And I guess one thing that, we need to keep in mind for people is, you were working a full-time job on top of doing this. It wasn't, like you weren't working, you weren't doing other things. Like you were working a full-time job. So working this into your routine, um, you know, you could only work on it early in the morning because of the daylight hours and when the temperature was right. There was a very limited window that kind of created a rhythm. Um, what did those quiet, structured mornings teach you about consistency, or did it teach you anything about yourself?
It taught me that I'm a crazy ass morning person, and that, as you know, and Jen knows very well, that I am insane in the morning. She probably doesn't know to the depths of it because she doesn't see me at 2 or 3 in the morning, but she does receive my texts from that time.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my god, what time was Jack's up? Oh, 2:47. Oh, great! And I totally forget, like, oh my god, that people are mostly sleeping at this time. So let me see what it taught about. First of all, I have to explain that I was very well gifted for a job that my hours were 11 till 8, Monday to Friday. Now, most people would cringe about that, but my kids were all gone and it was just myself and my husband. But I wake up at anywhere between 2 and 4 a.m. That is my regular wake up time and I thrive. I wake up like this right now. There is no get started, wake up, any of that kind of stuff. There may be a little bit, but I can turn on immediately when I wake up in the morning. In fact, there's usually a song playing in my head. And when I hear the jukebox, then I know that there's no point going to sleep and I'm up. So the part was is that it was fantastic because I would put my music on in my ears and I would just sit there and listen to my song, and sometimes it was the same song over and over and over and over again because I do love the beat. And what it would do is it would get rid of all the white noise so that I could just focus on the wall in front of me because I'd never done anything like this before. There were many times where the artwork never matched what was actually happening and I had to make some artistic decisions which scared the shit. There's many times I cried because I am no artist ever. Did I create art? Yes. Does that make me an artist? Loosely, yes. But as an artist, no. But what it taught about me, it taught myself is that I can actually follow through on something and that I can follow my gut and do what it tells me to do. It would tell me to go out there. Now, I had a very specific window because, first of all, I couldn't do daylight being that vampire thing. I had to be gone by to work at 11, but that also meant on the weekends that I couldn't be out till past 11 either. And I also had to wait, like, in the morning when I was doing the black and white portion of it. It was awesome, but I also had to be there between 4 and 6:30 in the morning because that's when it was dark, so the projector would work. So I had some strange people stopping in the middle of the night, like, "What the fuck are you doing out there?" Because it was pitch black in the entire street except for this cat projection on the wall, like all you the bright light. Like, what is it? And so that was there was a lot of interesting things about that, and it was a joy to go out there. I actually looked forward to it. There were times when I never wanted to go out there, but it was never a chore to a degree where I stopped myself or I had to really talk myself into it. I guess because something cool was coming out of every time I went out there. Every time I put my pen or my paintbrush into something, something new came out. And it was cool to watch that unravel slowly. Each section was especially the cat when I started to do the different colors. I even filmed it when it was the first color was added and every color built onto that because it was just so cool how this thing came to life.
Absolutely. I think the more, colors you added and the depth of it changed and it just kind of evolved and became its own. Let's touch base on some of the toughest parts that you faced. The black border. So you said that that was one of the hardest parts, wasn't the size of the wall, it was this black border. And can you kind of tell us a little bit about why it was one of the hardest parts? Is it because it was the slowest or the most detailed, or was it just an emotional part of it for you? Is it because you were on the ground inches from the surface, you're wearing your magnifying glasses, your readers, or you're spending meticulous amounts of time, hours on just a single square just to get this right? What was the most difficult part about it?
The most difficult part about it was that, as luck would have it, across the street lived I had a fantastic neighbor. She's moved now. But her boyfriend was the known mural artist for this entire area. He actually painted the mural in this community center, this life size 20-foot mural by hand. Okay. He sells his artwork everywhere. He has been one of the fundamental people about this egg tempera type of painting. And when I first found out that he was there, I had a panic attack because that is an artist to me.
That is an utmost 100%
Right.
artist.
And he's talking to me. He goes, "I'm so excited for what you're doing here." And I'm like, "Are you like shut the fuck up?" Like, no. Like, are you mocking me? Because you're the artist, right? You're what my mind would be. You see a picture of a fairy out in like wherever's going on and you just paint it from your mind using this technique that doesn't look at all like what it is, but you take these little dots that are so cool and make this beautiful picture. And I'm like, "Oh, you're an artist." And he has been one of the most supportive, most beautiful people in regards to my work. But I had a full scale panic attack. I'm like, "Are you kidding me, man? What are the chances?" Like, I am no artist. This is a coloring book. Oh, why am I doing this? I just do not
Well,
understand.
well, what are the odds that your neighbor across from this project that you decided to just take on because it spoke to you is somebody that hand paints murals, is an artist?
Renowned, $10,000 a painting type of person. Okay.
I
And
mean,
and then on behind it, on the other side of my house, on the other side is an art teacher. Okay. My neighbor is an art teacher. And I'm like, I need for you guys to fuck right off. Okay. I just, I am no artist. Why am I creating art?
I
Okay.
can only imagine what this process was like for you, knowing that and what it brought up, not only emotionally, but mentally and physically, how that impacted you.
Oh my God. I remember I called my son and I happened to have him on the phone and I'm like talking like this. He's like, "What's the matter, Mom?" I'm like, "There's an artist across the street." He's like, "Mom, what is going on?" So, like, anyway, So the black part was okay because when I first did the black part, I just did a mad trace. And I thought that I would be able to distinguish where the thicker lines would be, where the borders would be. So the first black wall I did, it looked okay, and I realized that I couldn't tell where things started and where things left because all of it was all the single weight of line. So then I had to go over it a second time to realize that I had to do the black borders in. So then I went through and did all the wall in black and white and got that done. Found out, as I showed you earlier, that the artwork didn't fit on the wall the first time. She had drawn it too short. When I actually blew it up, there was still a good 2 feet left of the 6 feet that didn't work. So I thought, what am I going to do? I'm not going to talk to her again about extending the art. She was already very stressed about that. So I took the artwork and I flipped it over and made a mirror image.
Yes, it's gorgeous.
But does it look
It,
like it was a mirror image?
it, it looks so natural.
Yes. There was one of the moments that I had a complete breakdown because when it flipped over, one of the few video games that I'm not a video gamer at all. I love them. I'm fascinated by them, but the hand-eye coordination, my brain short circuits. But one of the bonding moments that I had with my boys when they were growing up was Zelda from GameCube. I was able to beat some of the bosses in that and got some respect from my kids. They actually talk about it still to this day that I kicked ass because the boys had chicken pox. So we ended up just playing video games and I was playing with them to beat some of the bosses that they couldn't beat. That artwork looked like the villain in Zelda. When it flipped over in a mirror image, it had perfect horns, mustache, lower and upper, and the eyes like stood right out. And it scared the shit out of me. I'm like, I can't put on a wall what's going to scare a child, okay? It's supposed to be a friendly piece of art. And I looked at it and I looked at it and I'm like just mortified. And I thought, well, fuck it. Maybe if I look like it in the beginning, in the center part where, sometimes you see a plant where it looks like there's the new shoots are coming in from the centerpiece.
Hmm.
Maybe if I do that, I'll paint that. So I just went and took the brush and just painted it. She also colored the plant a green shades and I wanted something different. I can't tell you how many times I cried at that plant too because I had no idea what it was going to look like. I just went on pure faith that it was all going to work out anyway. And it wasn't until I saw the black border around it that I realized that I created art. Until that time, that was never the case. I was questioning it the entire time, especially during the part where it went from the black and white to just adding the color, and then the third year using the black. That was the center year caused me a little anxiety because I wasn't sure when I first did the color how it would work.
So the self-proclaimed non-artist had several obstacles to overcome, not only emotionally, but also physically, because the artwork didn't span the whole length of the wall. So you had that to overcome. But then you also had this plant that didn't necessarily fit. So you decided to try to mirror it, but then it looked like an evil villain and you didn't want to scare anybody. So you took it upon yourself to hand.
Oh, girl, I wish you would have been there. I just sat there, and there were so many times. I'm so glad that nobody was there because there were tears. I'm telling you, because I am no artist. I really like. I can copy. If you want to give me a picture, I can copy. Is it proportionate? You can recognize it. And that's the extent. I am a creative and I can create things that can sometimes like art or whatever. But in regards to being an artist, like I did all the things when I was a kid. I had an excellent art program when I grew up. Like I did batik and I did ceramics and I did painting and I did all of these things and I sucked at all of them. I have them still here. Okay. That's proof of my artistic skill. I'll have to show you one of the mushroom that I was so proud of, and you're gonna look at it and you go, Jax, you are no artist. It's like you're a creative, but you're no artist. But it really I was second guessing myself to a good degree until my husband gave me a very wise piece of advice. And because there were two walls, He told me to do the small wall from beginning to end, because if there was anything you had to work out, you certainly didn't want to have to handle it when you were on the bigger wall. At the beginning of the first year, I was able to get the first side done and the color part done, do that crazy evil plat king, handle all that crap, decide what color the other mirrored um, tulip was going to be, because that wasn't part of the original artwork.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then and only then, when I did the black art, the black lines, did it all of a sudden I became super excited because it looked fucking cool. And I went, even though the black was the hardest part, because you are giving the impression of a straight line on the most imperfect surface, period. If you've ever tried to do a straight line on cement, where the pockets of the little doodad, whatever the fuck they are, bubble things, it was in and out. And there were so many times that I made the black line too thick just trying to straighten it out because it wouldn't look right. And I'm sitting there with my face, I have these readers on, these very strong, these magnifying glasses on. My face is no further than 2 inches from the wall. And I had to sit there for hours. I showed you the block there. There was a foot by foot section. That took me 1 hour just to do the black. It is 21 feet of that and 3 feet down. So you can do how many hours just the black was. And
Wow.
I cried during that thing. I'm telling you multiple times. But what kept me going in regards to that part was that I'm the only one that's going to know this is wrong. No one else knows what it's supposed to look like. No one else knows if that's supposed to be thin or fat there. No one else knows if that's supposed to be blue or pink there. And no one else knows what the fuck it's supposed to look like. Plus, if they pick out that flaw in that big ornate thing, then okay, great, thank you very much. You can fuck off too, basically. Because it's like I just sat there, and the times that I cried, I just reminded myself that I'm the only one that knows about the flaws. I'm the only one. So unless I sit there and go, Jen, look at that spot right there, you'd go, what spot? Your first question, where? I'm like, right there at that tulip. See how it kisses down at the bottom? It was supposed to be only a 1/4 inch instead of a 1/2 inch. You go, shut the fuck up, Jax. Like, you don't care. And so I reminded myself that if I was talking to myself or someone like myself who was doing that, that would be the biggest piece of advice that I would give me. You're the only one that knows what's wrong. The only one. And so when I got to a part, like my husband, he showed me up so many times. His painting skills, he's a lot neater, he's a lot quicker. His lines were straighter. You don't think I bawled my eyes out about that too? Like, I love you, just go away. No, stay right. I want you to no, just go no, stay right. I just I was so thankful for him because his hand was much steadier. But it was even tougher when he was doing it because, like, why don't you just get him to do it, right? Because then it would be perfect. Because it's what it's all about, is being perfect, right? And that was the biggest lesson, to let go of the perfection. Because does art need to be perfect? There are some things like a marble statue. Okay, yeah. If the balls were in the wrong place or something, that might be wrong. Like there might be issues there. But in this art piece, perfection wasn't as necessary. And that was the can in my can't. I found an imperfect piece of art that could be perfect just being imperfect. That's what let me go, because I was allowed to make mistakes. I was allowed to do different colors. I was allowed to mix things up. I just had to repaint it. If you were standing in front of your own blank wall right now, maybe feeling like fear is breathing down your neck, I hope today I gave you courage. Just even a little bit, because courage feels small before it feels strong. It it sometimes could just be a whisper, and sometimes it looks like one shaky line, one imperfect step, and one first move that nobody sees but you. This is the end of part one of The Cat Came Back, and trust me, it gets even better. Because next time on Just Jax, we will pick up the story where the wall became more than personal, when a piece went missing, even possibly stolen, when plans fell apart, and a deeper kind of courage took root. In the meantime, if you loved today's episode, please leave a 5-star review. A 5-star review. It helps me so much. You can also DM me anytime on Facebook or Instagram if you want to connect. And hey, if you have not checked it out yet, hop over to crackthecursive.code.com to grab my kick-ass cursive writing curriculum. Cursive boosts brain development, helps emotional regulation, and honestly, it is just badass to be able to write like a boss. Plus, you will find my loser forthwith and shift merchandise over there too. Until next time, remember, it all counts. Every messy move, every hesitant yes, and every shaky first step, they all count. See you in part two.